ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC, an all-natural skincare company that helps you glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your daily self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
How do we do this? And how do we do it with laughter and joy and fun?
How are you doing today?
I am so excited.
Me too.
I am, spring is in the air, and I just feel like all these possibilities are happening.
Yeah.
And I am delighted to be here today and having the conversation with you and our guest. And what about you? How are you, my friend?
So I have to tell you guys, I didn't think about this before we got on, but this is my last episode in my 20s. So we have had 115 episodes, and this is the last one, and then I'll be in my 30s next week. Yes. So I'm great. I'm looking forward to it.
Happy early birthday, my friend.
Thank you so much. We've been celebrating so much. This week we me, the retail team, and the real estate development team on Sweet Auburn met with John Ossoff. That was amazing, right? And then I got to go down to Georgia Southern and celebrate my friend Shai for graduating graduate school. And that's been a long time coming. So party after party is the season that we're at.
I love it.
Yes. I've been including dance in every day. I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast, but I've been having like dance breaks just randomly, and it's been good. Adding a little fun, little spontaneity, little movement. Yeah.
I love it. Yesterday at our Radical Self and Community Care class that Sheila and I teach through the Reimagine platform, we were working on self-care around anger. And we had such a great song that we played with it. And it just was it is so powerful to me how music facilitates our healing. It facilitates some of our conversations.
Right.
We love our Tuesday group and the classes. And sometimes we get off and we're like, whoa, like that was good. And it was one of those weeks this week that it was like, whoa, like it just was powerful to shift, to play with it, to really dance with it, like you're saying.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What's been your top song you've been dancing to this week?
Oh, one of them is this like Afrobeat song, and it's Party After Party. And so I like dance to that song. I used to dance to it in when I was at Papado, and I was selling all this food. It was party after party, and so now we get to enjoy all the parties. I was missing graduations and different things in the working 7 days a week. Like if you guys listen, I know we have some listeners already here at the beginning. You guys know I was working 7 days a week last year, so being able to go party after party and keep the dance up has been a good time.
Well, speaking of graduations, I want to give a shout out to my niece, Sarah, who just graduated with her bachelor's degree. And
congratulations, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, she's graduating from Harding University in Arkansas, and just give her a shout out of love. And I also want to give a shout out to all the Agnes Scott Scotties that are graduating on Saturday. And there's just a lot of fun, and everybody, right? If you're graduating from kindergarten, middle school, high school, and I just also want to say a shout out of congrats to all the parents who helped make that possible. Because when I think about this season, when I think about May, for people that have children, this is an incredible season. It's awards banquets, it's wrapping up of school, it's essays, it's last minute projects, it's graduation. Like it is.
That's after prom, and
right. It's all those, because I've been seeing all the awesome photos on social media, right? And you see all the social media version of the beauty of it, right? And the behind the scenes, like it's like. So having fun with that. And also just, it's been a big season. There's been a lot of fun stuff going on.
That's a great
So,
point. And today we're talking about financial wellness, and when I think about my graduation seasons, the first one in high school, I was working at Quiznos. That was my first job. And I decided to leave. I say I had minimum hours and minimum wage, right? So I was working 4 hours a week. I said, it's okay. I need my time for graduation and all the stuff that I had for all the extracurriculars I was in, right? And I remember it being week after week. And then it was my birthday and then it was graduation. And similar story for college graduation. Again, with it being my birthday, of course, it was a little bit earlier here in Georgia, the way that we map it out. But then I was thinking about finances, right? One of my friends was getting married and we were talking about the price of going out of state, being able to afford not to work, being able to afford the things that you have the opportunity to enjoy in when you're part of a wedding, right? And the difference between somebody who's in the military and somebody who was just a college student for 4 years, and what that looks like, and having those conversations in friendship groups.
Right?
Yeah.
I am so excited about our guest today and bringing the feminine spirit to the money conversation. Because even as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about, especially as women, like, right? Yeah. We tend to be nurturers. We are the connectors. We have I can tell you a list of graduation and birthdays and, and that piece of the financial puzzle too, right?
It's important.
And Mother's Day, y'all. Mother's Day Sunday. Just your friendly reminder. Yes. If you haven't already thought about it, you better be thinking about it for your mom. And it's that we do have guys that listen to the show, y'all.
Yes.
And partners and spouses. Would you like to have that conversation too? Somebody was asking me the other day, about Mother's Day, like traditional Mother's Day. Yeah. And I was like, for years when I was raising my kids, the day was my own.
Okay.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I was a mom 365 days a year. I decided it was Mother's Day. I got to do what I wanted to do. Yep. So sometimes I go to a hotel by myself. Okay. Sometimes I go out with girlfriends who had the same beliefs. Sometimes I just go into the woods, Yeah. I was like, because how to celebrate me is celebrate me like the day before or the day after, but let me do what I want to do on that day.
I like that.
That was for years. But now that my kids are older, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to have a traditional, us all be together and have, but I haven't really trained them for that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen on Sunday.
Okay, so here's the opportunity for conversation, right? And it reminds me of when Coach Co and I and Sarah and Shay got together at the retail space. We were talking about friendships, and we were talking about how when you get into a new season, maybe you have that conversation of what it looks like now. Right. And that's what it sounds like. Okay, this is what I want it to look like this time.
Right? I just want to hang out with them. Because I think part of the thing is, when you're raising young kids, you're always with them. Like you have them 24/7.
Always.
And now that my kids are grown and out of the nest, I don't get to see them. I'm like, the gift will be getting to be with them.
Of course.
So you're right. It's a new season. Well, hey, I want to get our guest up here. And I know you and I could chat for an hour, but are you ready for me to read the definition?
Yes, I am.
All right. So today, y'all, we are talking about financial wellness, and our Women Connect in Wisdom definition of financial wellness is an intentional approach to your relationship with money as a tool. It includes stability with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like budgeting, reducing debt saving, and investing. Financial wellness incorporates knowledge and skills that helps to change behavior, reduce financial stress, and creation of a strategic financial plan to reach your desired financial goals. So I know that our guest today has some of these resources and tools in a way that our listeners have never heard them before.
Yes. And when you talk about stability, that's why I'm so excited to get into this conversation, because as entrepreneurs, as people who are doing all these different things, that might feel like it's in jeopardy sometimes. That's the reason a lot of people stay in jobs and do a lot of the things and prioritize their tasks the way that they do, because of the want of this stability. So how to do that in the way that is most natural to us in today's society, I'm super excited to talk about.
Right.
Today's expert is Cindy James, and after finishing in the top of her class in high school, college, and law school, her early career was as a successful corporate litigation attorney. She transitioned while raising her family into using her intellect, skills, and compassionate heart to understand the laws of the universe and facilitate vibrant health, happiness, harmony, and prosperity. Plus, she is a master level healer in multiple modalities, including in sound, Reiki, holistic health, shamanism, and more. She is the founder of the Prosper Plus app, YouTube channel and podcast, the Galactic Council of Women and All Genders Welcome, and the Fierce Feminine Prosperity Power Program. Cindy is on fire, living the life of her dreams. Welcome, Cindy James. Hi.
He is on fire. And the flames of life and potency are burning bright with the three of us, emanating to everyone who's receiving this in whatever time or space they are.
Yes. Super excited to have this conversation with you, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cindy, one of the things I want to say to you before we get started is, I think we had our coffee and chat months ago. Months ago,
I think.
But today, so when we get together, when we start pre-production, we're like, oh, and our guest is today, with each other. And I'm like, oh yeah, remember Cindy? She had that awesome energy.
Yep.
So I know that whatever you're doing is working for you because you leave a lasting impression. We had 15 minutes together last August.
Yeah.
And we are so excited to have this conversation today.
That touches my heart. Thank you for sharing that, because what do we really want but to leave a legacy of all is well, and you can do it and I can do it, and there's hope and there's power, and to praise one another and to collaborate and play and not smoke the pipe of negativity and lack and victim consciousness, not to deny it or ignore it, but to be able to then merge and say, okay, that doesn't work. Let's do this, and to do it together. And I've said this to you, I say what's called a crowngasm. When the energy is really big, my crown opens and it's vibrating pleasure all the way through, but I know it's supernova for everyone and everything. And our precious forms, no matter how we identify, can be vehicles for the release of divine light and life and creativity and resources and power beyond our wildest imaginations, but oh boy, can we enjoy it. That's what you recognize, both of you. It's what I recognize. And that's what this triad, this triune, this triangle, the three of us together coming in the sacred geometry are bringing. And then I see then all these, I call them concentric triangles. I know that's not really the technical term, but so many circles linking up all of these different forms all over, building a new foundation. I mean, Shannon, it was so beautiful what you said. We cannot feel secure and stable in our human form if our basic needs are questionable. They're just questionable here on the planet, because what money has happened to money, it's gotten so far from what its original soul or purpose or momentum or intent or capacity is. And that's what we're transforming and elevating right now.
I love it.
So, Cindy, how did you get into this? How did you think, okay, this is it. Here we go.
I will try to answer that quickly. I always wanted to know what was more, whether it was God, Jesus, Buddha, Baba, what's healing, what's miracles, what's the power of prayer. I mean, as a little kid, all throughout, raised Catholic. I'm a lot of things. I mean, Catholic literally means universal. So yeah, I'm Catholic. It's universal. And so what happened was, right before I went to law school, I went to Barnes and Nobles and I read a book called Hands of Light by a woman named Barbara Brennan, who is not in the body anymore. I say nobody dies, they just skedaddle to the next realm. So she skedaddled. And I remember reading that and thinking, this is so amazing. I wonder how this could ever happen, but my path is not that. And then I find myself years later going to my chiropractor when I had 3 offspring. They don't really love the term, the offspring. They think it's like cattle. So they're like 22 to 30 years old. They've sprung off me. I mean, nobody's checking on me. They are checking on me, but it's different. They have their lives. Active mothering is done. I'm wiping no nose, cutting no meat. I'm not wiping anyone's behind or helping them learn to blow their nose. So
there's hope. For all our listeners that are in that stage, there's hope. Just look towards Cindy and I.
There's hope. And there's hope now, especially in this moment, because I have a lot of friends that are are at that level and age. They're raising children, because they're still children, in an energy. This is how I like to describe what's happening right now. The energy of new life is here, but the baby hasn't been born yet. So the old isn't really working and the new isn't quite here. So that is crazy making. So getting back to how I got into this, I went to my chiropractors, dear friends of mine, and a woman was giving a free Reiki session. I didn't know what Reiki was. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. Ryakai? I was like, okay, but free. I had stayed home at that point. My now ex-husband was working full time. I was home full time with the kids. And she said, do you have any issues physically? And I said, well, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which means I only get my period like once every 6 months, and the hormones and the hair and all that kind of stuff. And she said, okay. And I felt this explosion in my lower right abdomen. And I had my period at that time. So 2 months later, I think I'm dying of some sort of horrible reproductive cancer, because what must have happened is having sex with my ex-husband. God bless him. I don't know if you'd like to hear that story right now. And thinking that there was no way I could get pregnant. I was at the tail end of my period, and finding out at the hospital that there was a heartbeat in my abdomen. And I remember that I couldn't even get out. This was in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. I couldn't even get out of the hospital. They had to walk me to my car. I walked in circles. And so I was then told that I had contracted cytomegalovirus and the baby could be severely deformed. And then I was told at 22 weeks that the baby was so malformed that the only prudent medical, ethical, or moral thing to do would be to terminate pregnancy. And I remember that I was kind of thrown off by that, and I was alone. My ex-husband wasn't with me, and there was a lot of pressure. And I just said, am I in any danger? And they said, no. I said, well, then I will make my own choices. And you can keep your ethical and moral decision to you and your family for me, but I'm not in danger. Let me see. I believe in all sorts of things, but I was very intuitively guided. And then I said, whatever fired off that egg, I am going to throw myself hook, line, and sinker into the energy stuff that I knew as a child when I was singing Day by Day, and then reading Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan in the 80s, and then, going to Barnes and Nobles and reading about feng shui and all that kind of stuff. And I was just going to devote everything to it. And so I was at Children's Hospital, Philadelphia, every week with ultrasounds, major malformations. Baby was born, put on antibiotics right away, taken at 3 days, released from the hospital, taken to CHOP for surgery. And I mean, if you've had babies, and every baby is like harder and harder to, it's more intense afterwards. My milk is coming in. I'm feverish. It's 3 days. I'm postpartum, bleeding, and the stress of this. And this baby goes through tests that no one should have to go through, let alone a newborn. And I remember this Russian doctor is having a Russian accent coming out and saying, why is this baby here? And I'm in tears, streaming all the list of things. And the doctor says, your baby is perfectly healthy. Take him home. And CHOP studied him for 5 years. There was no evidence of anything. And that my offspring, identifies as they now, queer and trans, and is going to graduate college this weekend, Mother's Day weekend, at American University. And my daughter's also graduating from graduate school at American University in education policy and reform. 1 in 4 are graduating. And that is when I was like, I was gifted with an intellect and a drive. We talk about feminine energy. I have a lot of masculine energy, or active energy, or momentum energy. It's not about the biological form. It's about the active and receptive. And I just devoted myself to that. Whatever could have done that, I wanted to be a proponent of that. So I started my practice helping women conceive and being there present at birth and for new moms. And then it went into everything. I say I midwife both births energetically. When you're leaving the realm, someone I love dearly, a young man that I've loved since before he was born, just left the realm 3 weeks ago. And to be energetically through that process of the personal grieving, because you grieve in the cells, and then also the spiritual connection of the gifts of what happens when someone crosses realms, whether they're coming or going. And then that's what I did. I mean, I took every class. I'm a perennial student. I've studied Celtic shamanism, Native American shamanism, Peruvian shamanism. And when I say studied, it's not like I just read a book. I have the personality like, okay, I'm in Peru and I'm doing it.
Right.
And I'm going to India and I'm doing it. And I'm going to Turkey and I'm doing it. And I'm going to, all the places and I'm doing it. And I was blessed with a very supportive ex-husband at the time, or husband at the time, and children who were aware of what it was that I was doing on nights and weekends, and a private personal practice. And then when COVID hit and the divorce had just started to happen, we agreed that the love was there, but the compatibility was not. I mean, God bless us. What do we know when we're 20s getting together? I mean, just crazy, crazy thing. And I got really quiet for months because you kind of had to. What really needs to shift right now? And what I got was this notion of money. The most heinous things are done on this planet on the notion of channeling imagination into the current of there not being enough. And this is how we'll get enough and feel stable and secure. Whether it's getting on boats and going to another country and killing and enslaving people, or it's what we do just in a community or in a marriage or in between siblings. I mean, the most heinous things come when our instinct to keep our human form alive and nurtured gets so confused with that delusion that there's not enough. And I believe that's the masculine principle, highly wounded. The feminine principle, highly wounded too. I mean, no one's to blame. I mean, it's all part of the great game. The Peruvians, the Ashuan tribe in Ecuador and Peru, say that there's a prophecy about what's been happening, is that the great bird of humanity has only been flapping with the masculine wing. And that has caused a spiral. And if you identify as masculine, there's no stability for you. The best you can get is relief from the state of having to conquer. Until you have to conquer again, there's no peace or serenity or real harmony or pleasure in that. And now the feminine wing is unfurling. And that's why I started something called the Galactic Council of Women, All Genders Welcome. And people would ask me, I mean, they heard like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 especially lawyers that I used to practice law with. I remember then running into a woman, a partner and her husband at a theater, and Cindy, what are you doing now? And I said that. And I swear, if I had said, I'm pole dancing for a living now, and now there's nothing, anything wrong with that, I would have gotten a more positive response than I am a proponent for the awakening of consciousness. And I've started something called that Galactic. We're part of a bigger cosmos. That comes from lactation, milk. A mother's supply knows how to meet the demands if she's taken care of. And then counsel, like that, really the benevolence of that, and of women, of the feminine principle of there being enough to nurture, delight, please, create, sustain, intuit, know. And of course, all gender expressions or none are welcome. This is not a thing about that. This is about all of the children and creatures and resources of the planet have been at, perfectly designed, but lower vibrational level. Mm-hmm. And if we stay there, we're going to suffer like hamana, and we just might not continue as a species. But I know that we are. And this moment in time with you two and with everyone and the emanation of the energy, oh boy, we're doing it. And it feels good.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning and then pull it back to where we are in the abundance and the flow that we're talking about, right? When you said this book that you read, Hands of Light, there was a part that you said, this is not me. What was it specifically in the book that made you say that at that time?
The training from the Barbara Brennan school, there is a training that you have to be able to see auras and light in a certain way. And you have to take years of training. And I did not, first of all, see light like that. I can see energy now way different than I did back in the day. But I thought that's just not a skill I was given on this planet. And I also thought, how could I devote that when I have devoted my whole life to become a litigation attorney? And all that, and then the money that I put into it, then this, and what I'm going to throw that all away, and I'm going to like channel light energy out of my hands to heal people and to find out what the defense structures are, to actually feeling alive and move that. I was like, it was a wistful, not for me, but I'm glad they're doing it. I wish I could. Mm-hmm. And that was the voice. When I talk about soul, I always do a litany when I talk about however someone knows the greater. God, Great Spirit, Jesus, Buddha, Baba, Science, Nature, Allah, Love, Higher Self, Higher Power, Goddess. However you know something greater than yourself. But that soul, that was the wisdom of my soul. That's where you're going. But I had to go through what I went through because there was nothing wrong with it. It was perfect. Everything is really perfect from that greater intuitive perspective. I just believe we have choice now on whether we suffer unnecessarily or not.
I hear what you're saying. And when I hear that, part of your story reminds me of Michelle Obama, right? How she had done all this stuff and had gone to law school. It's like, am I really going to put all this work and energy and investment down? But what I love about what I hear in your story is the systems, right? How you know that things work together. And I think that helps in the work that you do now. I would be, not that we have time in this hour because we're going to talk about other things, but I would love to talk about the list of transferable skills that you probably got from all of your experience over there and how it helps here, But with knowing different sides and helping different people through different parts of their life, I would like to touch back on a further part of what you said at the beginning and the difference between the feminine and masculine and how they deal with prosperity and the energy that you're talking about us living in.
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. And I'll just invite myself and everyone to take a deep breath, because there is no lack, shame, blame, or assignment. I like to move out of the terms toxic and into wounded or unhealthy. The highly wounded masculine or the highly wounded feminine takes it out of the sting of the continual cycle of the victim and villain. And so when I'm talking about masculine and feminine, and I know, especially having an offspring that has been going through the process that they're going through, I'm awakening and learning so much more in that process. So when I talk about masculine and feminine, I'm talking about whatever this greater infinite source is. I say this all the time. I am just really 100% sure it does not have external or internal genitalia. However, the greater, it's not like a biological form with A goes into B or C to D. None of that. It's an energy. And for the purposes of creation, that energy separates itself into principles. I believe, and a lot of lineages believe, and take what you like and leave the rest. That's not gospel truth. It's, according to me, that the energies of the active and the receptive are what those energies are. And all creation needs the planting of the seed and then the patient gestating of it. Whether it's an idea, a sperm and an egg, a seed in the earth, whatever it might be, there is that active principle, which is very linear, straightforward, focused, onward, kind of march. And the feminine then, there's so much with semantics. I don't like using the term submit, even though, I was a communications major and a trial lawyer. I can spin any set of facts in any word to make it be okay. But I would prefer to use the term surrender, which comes from sur, which is under, and render, to melt under the pure love coming into you and growing in you. So when the masculine is, runs rampant, whether it's in someone who identifies as feminine or female or not, there's no rest for the weary. There's only force and collapse. It's like you got to do, and you got to collapse. I, identifying as a woman, force and collapse for most of my life. And it's an insidious little humdinger because it can creep back in. The ego, which is the force of separateness, is a many-headed hydra. And I'm on sabbatical right now because it crept in. And I thought, no. If what needs to come in is natural momentum and rest, and the feminine principle that knows when to act and when to sit back, when to nurture, when to take care of. And this not having enough, I say the world is an illusion. Creation's an illusion. The delusion is illusion doubled. It's a delusion that there's not enough. And we can't rest, and we have to constantly be wary of someone else taking our stuff or our homes or our lives or our livelihoods, even though I know that's actually happening in duality. It's built on a false delusional premise. Again, well played, great master of the whole universe. It's a good game of forgetting we're infinite and remembering. So now we're moving into the age where, and the time and the energy of this moment, this eternal now that is springing forth in the linear now, the energy of the fluid, gestating, pleasurable. The feminine principle is all about pleasure and sustainable pleasure, multi-orgasmic pleasure. And that even oxytocin that's produced so much in a woman's body when she's lactating, when she's giving birth, when she's having an orgasm, these principles of sustainable pleasure everyone benefits from, because those that identify as men are suffering. Those that are running amok in what would be the, I say this phrase, cancer doesn't know it's suicidal. It keeps gathering all the resources. Look how great I did. Look how great I did. And then it's like, oh, we're all dead. That force, that unhealthy, imperialistic, I got to get force will kill the host as well. The masculine principle, which in wholeness does that linear action, but then provides a protective, reverential, respectful container for the feminine, who moves in time with the tides and the moon to actually birth the new life.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shaylo Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shaylo Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. You know, the story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So
yes,
yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, you know, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. You know, especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
That's where we are right now. And so whenever, I think about finances and I see what's happening to the global economy. I'm super smart. And that's not that I'm not aware of what's happening. When I see squiggles, I call money squiggles. Money is just what people agree has power.
Right.
Through themselves or objects or others in time and space, and it's squiggles, and we've agreed those squiggles are limited, and then we do horrible things over it. But I'm watching squiggles change, and I'm watching banks collapse, and I'm smart enough to know how things are funded and how they're not funded. And then I think, when I feel that dread, and I know people that are literally food scarce and security scarce, and in this present temporary moment, I think, okay, what can I do for that? We're going back to the original source, the elements, the Mother Earth herself, the creative principles of creation. And I'm going to still do my budget and my ledgers, and I'll move this thing there and I'll do this, whatever. And I'll, with the accountant and all of that, I will do that. But to the extent that I get seduced into the delusion of lack, then my great spirit, including the feminine soul of money that just wants to just say, you're great and all is well. We can do it. You can do it. Let's collaborate. Let's build new life and unimaginably great things. That's where I keep coming back to over and over and over again. And I talk to my friends and clients and people and members and entrepreneurs, especially women like you both, Christine and Shannon, that are, putting their money in their face where their soul is, where their intention is, where their spirit and heart are. We can continue to build this connection and move forward.
I love that, Cindy. And I wanna circle back around to something you said, because one of the things we do on Women Connected in Wisdom is we tell our stories, and thank you for sharing yours. It's beautiful. And we share resources. So when you say we go back, so say you've got somebody that is in that place of lack, that is having food scarcity or worried about rent, what is a tool or a resource that they can use in that moment to get them back to that place of there is enough, and there's more than enough, there's abundance.
So we have to wake ourselves up from the seductive delusion of lack that we are literally feeling in our body and our bank accounts and our relationships. We have to be the person that wakes up. And it is as simple, although, you'll scream about it, is going outside if you're inside and putting your toes or fingers in the earth and connecting to the planet and imagining who or what is on the direct other side of that huge, immense globe, and taking in the air and even trying to contemplate it with our baby dinosaur brains. They're amazing, but I can't understand how everything works. Even the most genius people can't really know everything. To bring that in, and prana or life force energy rides on oxygen molecules. If we want to know what the miraculous stem cells, spiritual DNA of creation that stems from the ether, the element of akasha, it rides on oxygen molecules. Send it in so that your cortisol levels, tell your adrenals to simmer down, so that then once that happens, when you connect into the sun as the fire, go up to trees. Let me tell you, trees right now are so amazing, especially in this season, which is spring. If you approach a tree and you ask it, yes, I have made a choice that I would rather be crazy happy and connected and infinite and powerful than crazy miserable and separate and gloom and doom. So yep, I go up to trees, and I have been for decades, and it works for me. But go up to a tree, and you can do things even like a liver cleanse. Put your right side up against it with your foot and ask that tree if you can just circular clear the frustration and the toxins of lack out. And then put your hands on the tree and ask the tree to send you any overflow energy to you. We are reconnecting with the original in Sanskrit. In many traditions, there's 5 elements. I know there's lots of different elements from different traditions, but what I have become, I don't really like the term master healer and all that, but in mastery with, in competent in relationship with, are the elements right now. And there are 5, and I'll say them to you, and you can write them down in English and in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a language created that the vibration of the word is the thing that we're addressing. So it's a really cool language for that. I don't think fork has a specific vibration. Well, maybe you fork it, but Sanskrit is a really cool thing. So there's 5 elements, and these are the order in which were birthed in creation through many lineages. Take what you like and leave the rest, depending on your belief system. Ether or akasha is the potentiality, that energy not yet manifested. It's called akasha. There's chants that can be done. I do these chants to the elements all the time. Om Akashaye Namaha. It's like salutations and greeting to that great force, however you know it, that potentiality, the latent divine, the not yet manifested, that everything springs from. And let there be light kind of energy. The second one is fire or Agni, Agni. Om Agniye Namaha. That principle is actually masculine in energy through these different lineages. We need that lightning bolt cut through kind of energy. We need that. And then after that, it's air, which is Vayu, V-A-Y-U. There's different ways to spell these things too, by the way. But Om Vayuve Namaha. And that's where you're breathing. You're connecting in with the fire to the molten core of the earth and the sun and the stars, and then the air and the miracle of breath. And then there's Jala, which is water, the waters of the earth, the H2Os, the miracle of life, the host, the blood that moves through us. Om Jalayaye Namaha. And then there's earth or Prithvi. So that is Om Prithviye Namaha is a chant that you can do with that. But simply knowing that there is a Mother Earth that, by the way, she's got plenty of soil, she's got plenty of water, she's got plenty of air, she's got plenty of fire, she's got plenty of potentiality to call from because it's infinite supply to feed and care for all of her children, creatures, resources, plus. And she wants us to know that. And she wants us to know that those elements are all in us. And as we remineralize, rehydrate, revitalize, restoke our fires of what gives us pleasure, even if that's orgasm, well, especially if that's orgasm. I mean, all of these principles, and that there's always more. These energies may be considered pie in the sky, but they are foundational resources that got lost somewhere along the way when you were trading a chicken for some spices. So you could, and then eventually came money, just was to make it easier how we traded things, has now become that straight lines with circles with little hooks and all of the squiggles are now, someone has all the ability and someone has none of the ability, and children starve, which affects everyone. It's like, oh, no. That's the fierce and tender feminine. Like a fierce feminine advocates for the oneness without compromise. She does not seek to annihilate the other. She loves the other. She wants to play with the other. It's fun to play with someone different than you, or in whatever way. But she, without compromise, but the protests of the other do not deter her. And a woman wants to be fierce when she wants to win Wimbledon or, start the new business. But she also then has to be fierce when her children are starving. And she's not receiving the love that she longs for. It is a epidemic, pandemic, delusion-emic of epic proportions of, I'm speaking just from my experience, of women of all ages, including I'm 58 and a quarter years old, not being able to love and be loved the way the feminine principle really would serve the masculine too. So I think I went off on a tangent a little bit.
That's okay.
That's what we're here for the soapbox, okay? For the platform. I love it.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about love and be loved, and we talk about financial wellness, that's what I think about, right? How do you want to live your life? You were talking about the time and the energy that we're in right now. And I definitely feel like that's what we're building. That's what we talk about all the time, right? How I left Papado at the end of December, and I'm in the 3 businesses, and I saved up a certain amount, right? So you could go into like Christine was saying, how do you stay in this, right? You could go to the money's running out, XYZ. Well, cash flows, it flows, right? So I'm grateful to go out, grateful to have it for the things I knew I would need it for. And I can also go outside and look at the trees, look at the birds, breathe in fresh air, connect with the sun like you're talking about. And remember that if Earth is still here and infinite and continuing to heal and take care of itself in the midst of different situations going on, then I can take a second and breathe and do the same thing. But
can I say one thing to that? Shannon,
sure.
Exactly what the feminine principle, however you might know it, or the golden planetary Mother Earth as I know her, wants you to know that in this time in between, the squiggles in the bank and the economic system, the way we've known pseudo security,
Right.
and what we're moving into, what we can do, the feminine principle can do, is have faith and surrender to the originating energies of love and the soul within us when we quite don't know. It's not that we won't feel the fear, is that then we realign and then know, then we can reach out. I know so many women, I will not starve or be cold.
Right.
And those that might starve or be cold, I can open up to, and I can pray for and send energy out too. That's what the Fierce Feminine Prosperity Power program that I've had. I trained women on how to send this universal energy into things like the fuel economy, the global economy, the masculine principle, the feminine principle, romantic love, education, the arts, media, sports, like how we can absolutely, as part of the oneness, affect the upliftment of everything. And Shannon, that's what you're doing in this time right now. Yeah. And I think as we praise each other, there's a song, I think, by Fat Boy and Slim. It's called Praise You. Praise each other. No more finding, the feminine principle. I say one of the greatest obstacles to us really bringing in this abundant, prosperous, opulent, nurturing age is that old where women competed against each other for the limited attention of the emperor or the whatever it might be. that whatever it was, and now to come together and praise each other. So I will say to both of you, you are so beautiful and powerful on every level. I know, because I know you now. I listen to you. I'm with you in this moment. And whoever's listening to this, regardless of gender identity or none, oh my God, you are doing so well. We're doing this. We're moving from competition, even out of cooperation, into collaboration. And that's where the magic, the alchemy occurs.
Yes. Yes. And to finish my point, I see you have something, Christine. Love and be loved. When I think about financial wellness and stability, like we've been hitting on, I think about when my mom passed away. Right. And again, I had to go back to Papado, and it happened on a Tuesday. And on Friday, everybody was like, why are you at work? Because I need to make this money, And so being able to choose what we love and choose to love ourselves and be compassionate with ourselves, no matter where we are on the spectrum, and choosing to hold on to the energy of abundance and believing that everything that happens works for my good. I have everything I need in this moment. And if I feel like I need something else, like you said, okay, who do I have in my circle that has what I need, and I can help them with what they need, and vice versa. And we can get where we need together. It's been beautiful to be able to choose that intentionally.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because all employment is about relationship. Right. I always say, whether you're the fry chef at McDonald's or you're a neuroscientist or wherever you would do it, it's all equal of value. It's all about relationship. It's all about learning about yourself and relationship with others. So every job is noble.
Yes. What were you going to say, Christine?
Oh, I was just going to affirm that about collaboration over competition, and that we know that to be true. We know that to be true on our journey and in our circles and the Women Connecting Wisdom community, and just the magic that happens, like literal magic that happens when we get together and we share that affirmation and that positive energy and creation, right? Just what you were talking about. I mean, what are we on today, Shannon? 115?
Yes.
Like, we would have laughed if you'd have said this 2 years ago, right?
I was thinking about that. Like, if you would have told me that I would be an Amazon bestseller, publisher, all these things, and you would, in a room of people, who would I have thought was that person? Would I have thought that it was me a few years ago? I don't know.
Right?
I hear you.
It is powerful. And you saying that about the trees, Cindy. So we've had multiple people on the show, like Dr. Amanda Kemp, Mother Tree Network. Just released an episode where we were guesting on her podcast recently, and Cecile Armstrong, one of the friends of the show. Like, you said the word simple, and in some ways it is simple, but it is also so magical and so natural that we've gotten away from it. So as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking about my own life. I'm thinking about my clients. I'm thinking about our world, right? And how we really complicate money. Like we are told when we can have it, when we can't have it. We are told when we should have it, what degree we should have to get it. I'm just coming to I think we just complicate it. So go ahead, Shannon.
Do you have, I want you to finish though.
No, I don't know that I have I'm just, all this is bubbling up for me, and I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it, and I'm an activist and social worker, so I'm also like thinking about the spiritual bypass part. Like because I'm with you, Cindy. Like when you said that about Hands of Light, I got goosebumps, because that book is literally on my shelf. Have I read it in 25 years? Probably not, right? And I kind of had the same reaction when I first read it. Oh, that's awesome. And I don't know if it's for, I don't know. All that's bubbling up for me. Yeah. So what were you going to say, Shannon?
I feel like I've kind of been doing a research study on it ever since Women's History Month, because I told you guys, everybody who listens, I told you I've been watching the Playboy specials, right? So at first I watched a story about the ladies and their story that they came out with. And this past week I watched Hugh Hefner's version of how he presented the company and the different topics that he wanted to talk about. I wanted to see the difference of how they told the story. And I also watched this special about wealth, right? And the wealth generation. And we talk about generational wealth a lot and things like that, financial, finances as a tool, of course, is what we're talking about today. And what I see is the difference between what I was talking about, right? Okay, somebody passes away, and what do you do in the family in that situation, right? How are you taken care of? Do you have what you need to be stable, to be comfortable, to take care of it the way that you would want to, right? And then it goes on the extreme of comparisons and all these different things. Mm-hmm. So when I think about, Cindy, what you're talking about the genders, and it not necessarily being about genitalia or sexual orientation, but more about the skills and the strengths and the weaknesses and the difference of approach. And I think about Marie, a friend who was serving with me when I stepped down after my mom had passed away. Mm-hmm. And we talked about the relationship between ease and effort. And that's what I think about when we talk about that. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna get the food out on time. We're gonna be 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Ideally, in a perfect world, we're gonna have the planner. And then on the other hand, I'm gonna go visit my friend and do nothing. It'll be okay. I feel like I have to do these things, but I have everything I need in this moment, and I can ebb and flow, and it'll be taken care of. And I feel like that's been a huge gift. And I know that we struggle with that, which is why I love Women Connected in Wisdom and being able to help give those tools so people feel like they have what they need in every situation.
Well, thank you for both sharing that. There's so much happening right now. I would invite you, dear person that's listening right now, just to breathe, relax your pelvic floor, your jaw, your shoulders, do whatever it might make you feel good, rub your nose, feel like with your lips or whatever it might be, because our body can help make more space for this higher vibrational awareness and potential. I notice that it's hard for some women, as much as they long for it, to step into the circles that we're in, to join the groups or do the programs or talk this way, because of the fear that's just embedded in the trauma of what happens when she hasn't or doesn't conform to that old way. And so I have great compassion for that. And the energy now is just pouring forth for us to be able to move into this new level of financial power. Power comes from the Latin posse, which means to be able. Our ability to direct the resources. I say it's like A, B, C, D, E. First, we access the originating Akasha energy principle, the feminine soul of I want to nurture, delight, and please and grow and experience here in this realm. We access it. Then we bask in it. Oh, God, that feels great. That feels good. And then we cultivate it. We send it where it needs. That person still makes me nuck and futz. Like I still get stuck in that, or still whatever it is with this and that. So we cultivate it. We send that energy. We imagine, which is the same principle that made the heavens and earth, to it. And then we really direct it. We can use the masculine at that point. We direct it. Anytime you share a squiggle, whether it's via computer screen, Apple Pay, with paper, whatever it is, if we can remember that we are in a power agreement where you and I agree that this means something, and my soul, my longing, my power, my ability is going to ride on that currency, on that energy into the entire system so that you have all your needs met plus. And so do I. So it comes back. It's a crowd out diet of the energy of money. And then as we come into E, where we just enjoy. And this principle of having that faithful surrender, we activate, like I like to use the example of a biological female that receives either the sperm or the inseminated embryo into her womb. And then I like to say, like when I had my first child 30-some years ago, I remember thinking, I always believed there was something more, but I knew there was when she was born because I just had sex and didn't die for 9 months. That's all I did. I mean, something miraculous happened inside of me. My great intellect did nothing. I read every book I could read. I did all that. It's not that I didn't try to mind it. Oh, the babies are great now. And the babies are this, and I need this vitamin. I mean, I tried to do all that, but basically that's all I did. And then the birthing, I mean, there's a lot there. Oh, Jesus, I did stuff there for sure. But the miracle of her life form, not for the rest of time could I think the amazing multi-million level development that was happening because we initiated, I received and said yes, and then it happened. That's happening on the planet right now. The baby's like in the oven, but not quite birthed yet. But we get to birth. We're affecting that by the environment. Of course, the environment that a woman's in affects the energy of the baby, the energy of the new life that's coming. And when people tell me or tell others that you're crazy and you're delusional, I'm like, well, first of all, you're welcome. I mean, you are thanking me for waking up from this nightmare. And I'm doing it even though you can't quite see it. That belief that there is more is like a foreign invader to the belief of the conquer and accumulate, and then I'll be safe. Well, I kill everyone and then myself in the end because we're all part of one organism. And, so yes, this ABCDE of bringing this energy. And then I tell you what, I have no squiggles right here in front of me, but to hold that piece of paper, when you were talking about like trees, as above, so below, the Kabbalah tree, there's so much symbolism in the tree of energetic, of our chakra systems, of the earth chakra, the Sri chakra. Been trained in so many of these different modalities and a practitioner of it. I'm living it right at this moment with that and asking how I know the greater and the talking to the souls of everyone receiving this in the eternal now to be able to expand their capacity to draw in, to let go, to share, to cleanse, to delight, to then have the time to then rest, all of the things happening right now, because it's just time. It's now, we don't have to wait anymore. It's just now. Our only choice is whether we're going to enjoy it or not.
Right.
Our only choice.
Oh, Cindy.
So
this
good.
You're right. I want to lift up Tracy Perry's comment that said it's so wonderful to have the divine feminine energy described in such a way. And earlier, Helen had said, here is to the feminine unfurling. So thanks, y'all, for listening today. I feel like we could just keep going on and on, but I'm paying attention to time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say two things and then pass it back to you, Shannon, before we start to wrap.
Yes.
Cindy, I got so excited when you said the D of directing, because like today at Connected and Wisdom Press, we just sent out our second royalty check to our authors. So, one of the things with compilation books is that often, and people don't know this a lot, but often the writers don't get paid. The lead writers are the ones that get paid. And we just did our first Women Connected Wisdom book. That's the one that's the Amazon bestseller. We did that last September. And we were like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for us. Our model is collaboration. So everybody that is a part of this is getting royalties. And so that directing of that today, I don't know if you felt that, Shannon, but when she was talking about that, I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
All of it is right on point. Yes.
Right. And then when you described the organism killing itself, I think out of fear, you described our gun crisis in America right now. I mean, you really just, I'm like, that could be a whole nother show, so we don't have to go there. I just want to put a pin in that because I think applying our feminine wisdom, it is what is going to change what's happening in the United States right now. And I know we have listeners from all over the world. So, and they probably know more about our gun crisis than most of us do in the United States because they get a lot of news about it and the real stats about what are happening in other countries.
It's that real serenity that everyone seeks. Everyone seeks that serenity, that security that we can come here and have what we need so that we can enjoy the awakening to our divinity, to our power, to our collaboration. Everyone wants that, just regardless of what it is. And when we engage in the annihilation of the other, I say, if you're right, you're screwed because you're in duality, right and wrong. It's yes, we can look at that. I always say, I never lost a debate in college. I mean, I know how to turn everything, but at a certain point, that's just mutually assured destruction. And then we drop to a different level. Everyone wants serenity. Everyone wants happiness. Everyone wants help, but for the few
and love
and the ones that are really off. And then we owe it to ourselves when we get seduced into being so right and them being so wrong, to come back to the originating principles. The highly wounded masculine is as suffering as the highly wounded feminine. It's in a different form. They have pseudo power. It's not real power. There's no serenity. There's no real self-esteem or self-worth or self-confidence. It eats at their soul. They're farther away from knowing the immense, amazing joy and gratitude and creative potential of what they are from that place. And it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't mean we don't say enough to it. But when we understand it, we don't then, as I say, advocate for the light rather than fighting the separateness. That you can do the exact same things, but you won't get seduced into the same fight of duality that keeps us so distracted.
I love that.
So good. And I have one more question for you, Cindy, before we go to our wisdom in action, where we talk about what we're doing this week for our dimension of wellness. When you talk about being married, and you were full-time at home and he was full-time at work, to now a 6-month sabbatical because you can and feel like it and need to, right? When we're talking about financial wellness, what is it that you do for yourself that makes you maintain your wellness enough to take the sabbatical, coming from a place of being completely at home and not working?
I made some choices. I had an apartment outside of Philadelphia, and then I had a shore home down in southern New Jersey. And, people could rent that and do whatever. I gave up the apartment. I didn't release the apartment. For some of my team members, I let them know in advance that it would be completing, for this time. Not a fun thing to do. But really deep within me, I knew that my body was starting to feel the depletion. I know how to regenerate youth, and that was not happening. I know how to regenerate health. I've been trained in the most ancient and esoteric healing practices, and I was getting off. And so what I love is the energy. There's a time to expend and there's a time to conserve. That's what I think we do with money and resources, to conserve, which literally means con with and serve, service with service. I'm having fun now watching how much those organic carrots cost and how much that coconut oil costs. I didn't have to do that before. I had that kind of blessing, and I have the blessing now to conserve and then to also put on paper. I work with a woman financial person. Her name is Penelope Jane Smith. I have what's called a wealth dashboard. I monitor my expenses. I watch what's happening. I check my investments. I've moved a lot of my money, almost all of it. My squiggle is out of conventional stock market right now for this period of time. No financial advice. It's just like, I'm just going to just sit for a while. That could go bye too, by the way, because it's all squiggles. Someone could say, okay, bye. And then what? I think the worst case scenario is I'll be hungry. Well, I've gone on 10,000 diets. I don't believe in them anymore, but I know how to be hungry. Case scenario is I can be cold. Well, I can put more stuff on. And then the worst case scenario is that I skedaddle, which is going to happen anyway. Death is not the last act of a cruel or absent God. It's a change of state. It comes when we're ready to go. That would be the worst case scenario, like it being going into the infinite. And I know that to be true because I experienced the different realms. I'm like, oh, well, Cindy Lou, there's nothing to worry about. Just do these things. And meanwhile, have some fun along the way and laugh and cry when you need to and be real. And sometimes I think negative thoughts every day sometimes, by the way. That's okay. And then I realign them like the Jedi Master that we are. And then I think that what the feminine soul of money, of supply, of resources wants, what is unfurling as that wing, is for all of us to have everything that we need plus, so that we can play here and delight in awakening and realign, so that we all, as one organism with many different, unique, different cells that can play the way they want, can fulfill the purpose of creation, which is to experience love and relationship.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Of course. So again, every week we do a wisdom in action. Today, of course, we're talking about financial wellness. So Cindy, as our guest, I will give you the floor first. What are you doing for yourself this week?
So tomorrow in linear time, I'm driving to Washington, D.C. To prepare for the graduation of her grad school for my daughter and my offspring. And I'm to visit a friend who's going through a difficult time with a husband with some significant health issues. And mostly what I want to do is to go into the capital of the nation that I reside in and do what I love to do best, because I'm going to have some real chunks of time to myself.
Yeah.
I love going to the mall and sitting in front of Congress and praying and chanting. I love standing outside the White House and just shining the most amazing love and compassion and praise and lightning energy. I like going to the Washington Monument and imagine that my body with that great form can be a conduit for the truth awakening of what we are. And during that time, I'm also going to sit by the pool, eat lots of delicious food, sleep, and then enjoy Mother's Day graduation celebration brunch with the whole characters, my ex-husband, his new fiance, and my offspring and family and friends, and just love everybody up to the best of my ability.
I love it.
I'm going to summarize all that up and say she's going to #shine.
I like it.
I think that, Cindy, it makes me think years ago we were in Interplay, we were dancing on the mall and using art and dancing and connection on the mall to affect change and at a protest. But, we were using the art and dancing. And so I'm so excited you're going to be there this weekend because we can use all the help we can get. So
me with this energy. This, again, is the divine genius. It's no coincidence that this happened right now to send me there.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
You're welcome. So, Shannon, what's your hashtag this week?
What you
doing?
So much stuff. Let's see. What do I want to say from today's? If I had to hashtag it, and sometimes I don't make it an action, so I'm trying to make it an action, right? I will say,
While you're thinking, I'm going to lift up Tracy's comment that says, thank you, beautiful, amazing, wise women.
You're welcome,
Thank you
Tracy.
for listening, Tracy.
Yes.
Ditto, Tracy. Ditto.
Right?
I'm going to say, hashtag remember you are infinite. Yes. And I will remember it as an action, right? When I do my Goldie and I do my yes in the morning, like a cheerleader, I will remind myself that I'm infinite. I'll habit stack it together.
Oh, I love that. I think mine this week is going to be hashtag unfurl the feminine. Because I know these practices. I use these practices. And when I get out of alignment, it's not where I start. Right. And so I think that hashtag unfurl the feminine. And for me, just, the practical part of that is getting up at sunrise and being in my labyrinth to greet the day, because that is where I unfurl my feminine. So,
yeah. And there's been a lot of stuff. So you've been back and forth and not always there this year. Right? So I'm super excited for you to get to do that this week.
Right. Me too. Yeah. It's a good week to do it. Well, Cindy, thank you so much. We never run this long, just so you know. Our listeners are like, what are y'all still doing about it? It's the longest episode we've ever had. This has been fabulous. Thank you, Cindy, for your light, for your love, for the work you're doing in the world. I know you're on sabbatical. Where can people find your work that's living out there?
Oh my goodness. If you go to my website, which is Cindy Gough, Gough, James.com, we can put that in notes. It's like Gough with a G, CindyGoughJames.com. It lists everything that I have going on. And this sabbatical, it's not hard and fast. I'm still doing keynote speaking, graduations, and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm a resource. I'm just very well aware of when I then launch something new. It's when my whole form is feeling like, ooh, she's ready. And I would so invite you to contact me to look at those things. And the Fierce Feminine Prosperity Power Program is an online evergreen program with the 12 faces of the feminine divine and energies and aspects of the planet and the senses and the spirit energy and the chakras and the healing and aspect of your life in the world. You're always welcome. That's there in perpetuity.
Awesome. So delightful to talk to you today and grateful to be connected. And we just look forward to watching your journey and see where you're shining in the world.
Thank you so much. Blessings.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. What a great episode.
Right
That
on
was
time,
fabulous.
Christine.
Right,
So,
always.
and what I'm going to say too, and I've been working on it. I've been working on the non-negotiables, right? We talked about that this past week on social media, and taking stuff off the table, right? Like when I get married, I want to take divorce off the table. When I now doing the businesses, I'm burning the boats. We're not going back. Not that we were going back before, but we're not changing the schedule around. We're going to make it work. That's how I feel about it. So it's right on time. And I'm super excited just to keep learning with you and getting all the good. They're like bigger than nuggets of wisdom.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
it feels like every guest, when you mentioned habit stacking, which was our guest a couple of weeks ago,
the heart math, yes.
With the heart math,
yes.
I just feel like every guest the last 115 episodes, like, just keeps habit stacking in this beautiful way that is like a flower blooming, right? And it is just like, oh, look at that. Like, oh.
You could do this and that and rest. And then this
right,
and
be in the flow, and
and have fun.
First of all, when Cindy was talking about the tree cleanse, I'm like, oh yeah,
that's a good idea.
I already know the tree I'm going to that I have conversations with. Yeah, so delightful.
Yes.
Well, my friend, we are over time, so I think we should probably call this and until next. Oh, y'all, you need to know.
Yes.
We will not be live next week because next Wednesday is Shannon's birthday.
Yes, it is.
So we are taking the week off for some celebration. We'll put up an episode. Of a past one that we want to lift up. But thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't yet, we would love it if you would go and subscribe either on YouTube, on Facebook, on your favorite app that you listen to podcasts, and give us a review. Like, they really do help. And so if you love our show and are listening, we'd love a review. And if you have feedback for us, we're also completely open to that.
I love that.
And we love to hear from our listeners. And also check out more of what we have going on over at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.
Yes.
Is there anything else we should tell them?
Yes. Yeah, just more about, because we are about to open the community, and it's been open for 2 years, guys. If you've gone to the website, like, I don't know, we're going to open it and then it's going to close. So if you have time, absolutely get plugged in so that you get the most up-to-date information. And if you want to learn more about Shalo Glow, again, we are going to be at the Sweet Auburn Fest this weekend. So if you're in Atlanta, if you're in the historic Auburn Avenue area, come visit us. We'll help you glow from head to toe and be talking about dimensional wellness, as always.
All right.
Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 115. In the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise, and be whole. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.